This video is sponsored by Atlas VPN. Also, this video will contain spoilers, so filthy casuals, please leave. Alright, I think it's been long enough that I can safely admit that y'all were gassing up season 1 way too much. Like, yeah, the world's cool, the characters are fun, and it's way more ambitious than most other Disney shows, but it's baby's first 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's got representation for days. But if you ask me, is it overhyped? I'd say no, in public. Move it to a private server, and you have gotten a very different answer. Because while the first season is good, brimming with potential, insert positive line here, it was always a bit janky. The writers had a story they really wanted to tell, but hadn't figured out fully how to tell it. It was suffering through corporate demands like Died Hogwarts, and no matter how many badass anime fights they put in, I could never shake that feeling that it hadn't hit its stride yet. So while everyone that wasn't a contrarian dipshit was singing its praises, I was kind of holding off hoping that Owl House Season 2 would be the one where they finally figured it out. Cut the jank, hit the ground running, and give us something truly special.
You wanna play tag? I'm it.
Yeah, they nailed it. Greetings, peasants. I'm Sarcastic Chorus, the man who likes shipping and cartoons. Today's the day I finally stopped passing salt to give you my honest thoughts on the Owl House Season 2 and why it slaps. And yes, I am still pissed about Season 3. And keeping me mad is all of these ads. Thankfully, with Atlas VPN, not only will it help you get rid of all those annoying ads, but also help keep your information safe by effectively creating a protective barrier that, look, I know you guys know what VPNs are like, but you don't realize just how great this technology is. See, because it does create a protective barrier that the other ad companies can't get into, third parties, they can't get into it. It is a safe tunnel that you can do that lets you go about your business, protecting your data and securing your privacy. And wait, it gets better. See, with Atlas VPN, you can also stream region-locked content. Yes, I know you know that, but stick with me on this one. Letting you cut down your subscriptions by getting access to region-locked content. See, something might only be available on Hulu in America, but that same show might be available on Netflix in the UK, cutting down that 2 subscriptions to just 1. Wait, it gets even better. See, not only can you get region-locked content, but you can also get region-locked deals. Meaning that you can go to a country, say, India, where YouTube Premium isn't a cut-your-throat $11.99, but instead a nice smooth $1.69 a month. Yeah, for $2, you could say goodbye to YouTube ads while still making sure all your favorite content creators can make their bread. You literally can't lose money with Atlas VPN. And right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. I mean, you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month, while also getting a 30-day money-back guarantee. Just click on the link in the description, and the world could be yours. It's only for a limited time though, so best get on there and go try it out. Now let's go back to talking about cartoons. So, I guess we should really start with some of the positives for people that skipped my 100th face reveal. Let's talk about that setup for Season 2. But to understand that, I also have to explain why Luce being a giant anime nerd makes this show. Like seriously, this is 70% of the reason why this show flows as well as it does, and not enough people talk about it. Because back in the day, when you made a show about a character getting sent to a magical world, they would stand around asking stupid-ass questions for the first 20 episodes, which never didn't annoy me. Congrats, you're an audience surrogate. Now shut up and let me actually enjoy the story. It was always just the worst. Because we live in a society drenched in pop culture. Every world imaginable has been created, consumed, rebooted, and ripped off. We're not Dorothy in bumfuck Kansas anymore. Kids have the world at their fingertips and they treat it like candy. Meaning if you want to have a protagonist from our world, then they have to be a little bit self-aware. Not that they're in a story, but of the tropes that come with the storytelling. Which is why having someone who probably reads wikis for a living like Luz is the perfect modern main character for a show like this. She's naturally curious and asks all the questions we want to ask. As rather than being trapped in another world, Luce chose to stay here, indulging her personal power fantasy of learning magic, flying, and having friends. She's perfectly content in the first season, having fun one-off adventures every week. while helping out those around her as she is finally living her best life. Luz isn't on a quest for anything. She is on vacation, which is why in this season, she struggles with getting a palisman as she has to confront the lack of depth to her choice to stay here. She got to live in the dreamland she wanted, but she wasn't thinking too deeply about it. Not until the finale and everything went to shit does she finally have to start questioning, why am I here? And is this really what I want? As before then, she could go home at any time. Plus, her mentor Ida is OP, her villain sister's a joke, just like the Empire, so while situations could get tense, there was very little actual danger. Till everything came crashing down, Ida got captured and lost her powers, Luz destroyed the portal, Lilith got replaced by a roster of villains who aren't comedic relief, and oh look, there's Kiki. It's at this point that the fun kinda stops, as Luz realizes things just got real. And it sucks. Suddenly, she has to get a job, start feeling guilty about ruining her mom's life, and hormones. It breaks the fantasy that Luz so desperately wanted, and everything is so much better for it. Also, check out Man of 1,000 Thoughts video on this exact topic, it is divine. This is how the season starts though, with everyone just kinda being bummed out and in danger, with it only getting better from here. As a jank that was annoying the shit out of me finally being gone, because the show finally found its focus. The plot. The Owl House is a great lore-heavy show, with every episode building off of each other, setting up or paying off multiple different plot threads, even in its filler episodes. Like, Lumity got together in a Hootie episode. A Hootie episode, for crying out loud. Everything this show sets up will be relevant later, making it such a great show to watch week to week. If this show was like getting binged, like they dropped all the episodes all at once, no one would be talking about this show. But to watch this week to week is so much fun because every little mystery is built up. People think about, they theorize, they wonder what's going to happen next, and hooks you into watching again. And it's all thanks to that setup and payoff that this season really is something to watch. From Lilith becoming interested in history before becoming full-on museum lady, from Lilith going to shy girl to sports queen, even King is getting developed. This show really decided that in season 2, everyone was going to be important, even if they're not important to the plot, allowing the show to have this constant sense of momentum as the story keeps going, sucking you in to the next. To the finale, which, everything happens. They do an Amphibia Gravity Falls, and I can't believe we only have 3 specials left. But while we're talking about the finale, I just want to be on record when I say that the last half of this season isn't being rushed. I honestly think that this was always the ending we were going to get regardless of what happened in season 3. King's Tide is the climax for Bellows as the main villain. He tries to kill everyone, the kids stop him, but unwittingly release an even bigger threat in the Collector, who is just a god. There was nothing set up before that could have worked as a finale better than this. So while it's very tantalizing to look at the jabs at Disney and the fast pacing of the season and call it rushed, but I think this was always the plan. It is just fast pacing. It is not rushed pacing, as having everything set up right can afford them the chance to just sprint to the finish line because of how it builds tension for the finale. By bringing back Rain, the second best new character in the show, by finally having Hunter be on the hero's side. Everything in this season built up to the Day of Unity and stopping Bellows. So while it's very fatalistic to say like, oh my god, they're rushing this so much, that's not the case. This is exactly what I think they were going for. But not to sound like a complete shill, I do have to admit this season is a bit lacking in fight scenes. The actual animation of this show, it's good. One of the things though that made the show stand out so much in the first season was just how hard this show would go in some of its fight scenes, with a ton of great moments that I could immediately call out to. While with this season, the only real standout was Amity versus Hunter. There's a ton of fantastic little moments where the budget kicks in, but it's missing those big set pieces that have kind of just become the staple of the show for me. So I'm disappointed that they're not here, but it doesn't really take away too much. But while I'm also here, I might as well be humble for a second and admit I was wrong about this show. I 100% thought Willow and Gus were gonna become irrelevant. Season 1 had a bit of a tunnel vision problem where the second after Luce met Willow, she got ignored, so that we can have more room for Lumity. Gus was barely in the show to begin with, and they decided to introduce Hunter. So I thought we had a My Hero situation going on, where the best friend squad was gonna get replaced by the fan favorites. And I wasn't about that. Not because I cared about them, it's just kinda bad form to put someone in the opening then sideline them for angstier pastures. But in spite of my misgivings, and the $20 I lost on this bet, Gus and Willow did come back, and honestly, they did so in a big way, with the crew deciding to stop the Muggle Club no one cared about, to focus on Gus's insecurity.
I know how to become my best self. You're always your best self.
Taking this singular joke line and fleshing him out into someone who struggles with anxiety and self-worth. My bread and butter. With him questioning everything about himself, wondering if he picked the worst coven, only to realize its value isn't in its direct power, but in how he uses it. Illusions can't break rocks or melt your enemies, but Gus realizes he's the real magic, and that's what makes it special. With him falling back into being Willow's best friend and being the only one she can really confide in now that Luce is dating her trauma. So he gets more screen time to nudge Willow to set her new boundaries with Amity, which is an episode I was begging for, because it is a little bit fucked up. Luce started dating Willow's bully the second she got the chance. And we never get a moment from Willow to hear her thoughts on the whole situation. Rather than having any conflict though, the story keeps the focus where it should be, on Willow's newfound self-confidence. She's happy to be friends with Amity again, but she struggles with asserting herself to Amity. It's so easy for them to fall into the old roles of Willow being the weak one that Amity has to protect. So Willow then had to step up and show off no, she's the powerhouse now. It's not combative or aggressive, it's a natural progression of Willow's arc of living her best life. Having finally changed her major to something she's actually good at, Willow's making moves now, finding out what sport she likes, becoming a leader, and just being the best Willow that she can be. And the thing that I find brilliant about how they use Gus and Willow is how they give them episodes while making them relevant to the story. As if we're being honest, they have the least interesting stuff going on. Luce has her hero angst, Ida has Rain, you could give Amity's family its own show, and Hunter, who outside of Luce, has the most going on, has arguably become the second main character. From his redemption arc and his connection with Bellows, he is the perfect homeschool kid for Willow and Gus to take under their wing. Hunter has no social skills. He's been raised his whole life by his creepy uncle who literally named him after his job. He doesn't know what it's like to have friends, and Luce and Amity have too much beef to get the ball rolling. So when he sneaks into school, Willow gets to be the one to help him pull that stick out of his ass and to empathize with other people's situation. Then later when Hunter is having a breakdown, they connect it with Gus's anxiety as he helps work Hunter through his. It's not groundbreaking, but since the show chose to be more serialized, building their connection with Hunter is the best thing they could have done to get everyone involved. As before, it really did feel like the show was just Ida's extended family and Hunter, while everyone else was just fighting for scraps. So making Hunter, Willow, and Gus their own character development B-team is just an inspired choice, as it keeps everyone relevant while the show squeezes itself to death over Lumity. Now, I made a video about this, a video longer than this entire one, so if you want something a little bit more in depth, go check that out. Link will be in the description, but in short, I love all of this. I love how great the representation is here, and how it chose to depict them not as an over-the-top love mess, but the more down-to-earth kind, with Amity coming into her sexuality, while Luce struggles with making a move, and all the dumb stuff they get into because of it. These dorks are adorable. And for all the new shipping moments I didn't cover in Season 2A, I think it's more of the same in the best kind of way. With them leaning on each other in their lowest moments, like Luce struggling on the anniversary of her dad's death, to Amity getting ready to beat her mom's ass for looking down on Luce. It's all so cute, it's all perfect, some would say too perfect. Okay, fine. I do get we're trying to build a better, more healthy ship here. Something kids would be semi-safe in emulating, and not whatever mental nightmare thing Adore and Catcher have going on. But there comes a point where I'm waiting for some misstep from either of them that can't be smoothed over with clear and open communication. Luce lies about seeing her mom through her bootleg portal, Amity picks up on it, and rather than going through her phone to find out, she just asks Luce later. Luce gets overzealous to cover for her dead dad vibes? They grow flowers and cuddle. These two are emotionally bulletproof now, and after the third sweet potato, I needed an insulin shot because they are just too sweet. I'm kind of a drama horse, so this is just a little bit too healthy for me. Moving back to something a little bit more my speed, let's talk about the local angst magnet Hunter. Hunter is a great addition to the cast that I didn't care for in the first 2/3 of it. We had just gotten a rival turned friend, and to have it happen again at what seemed like the expense of other characters in desperate need of the spotlight just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But as soon as the show was able to strike a balance in giving everyone a chance to shine, I warmed up to his sad boy nonsense. Introduced as the Golden Guard, his intimidation factor gets thrown out the window pretty much immediately, as Hunter isn't an intimidating replacement for Lilith. He's an ROTC kid that's never had any friends, and from pretty much minute one, you know he's gonna switch teams. As the sheer amount of time he spent reluctantly being with the heroes, plus Bellows clearly treating him like a pawn more than a nephew, I was always just kind of waiting for Hunter's arc to click. I wanted him to be more different from Amity, as I do feel like there's just so much overlap in their character arcs. And I finally got that with the reveal of the Grimwalker. That Hunter isn't a person, but one in a series of clones that Bellows has been creating for years. Hunter's character is based around his desperate need for his uncle's approval. He's been raised to believe that he is replaceable and needs to constantly be proving himself, desperately going above and beyond to be Bellows' lapdog, only for him to slowly grow as a person as he finds out there's more to life than the Emperor's Coven and serving Bellows. But what really destroys him and what makes him interesting is when he discovers the truth about the Golden Guards. That his fear of being replaced isn't just a feeling. He was made to be replaceable, with the literal closet's worth of skeletons being proof of just how little Bellows really cares about him, leading to him breaking down and finally having to accept that his creepy uncle is the bad guy. And it's there in the comfort he finds in his friends that I think I truly find the value in Hunter. Also Huntlow, as it builds to a way more convincing turn than most soft boy fascist, where it's less about him asking himself,
"We the baddies?"
but keeps the focus where it belongs, his personal relationship with Bellows. Hunter has already seen his uncle huff talismans like paint. He was already an active participant in some of the more morally questionable parts of the Empire, but it was always underlined by the sense of desperation and a belief that this is the greater good because Bellows told him so. So for him to realize his relationship was a lie, it's easier to accept him turning against Bellows, as he isn't loyal to the Empire, it was to his uncle. And watching him be challenged, doubling down, before finally breaking down in his ultimate recovery, is probably the strongest arc this season, alongside Ida's "maybe I shouldn't have burnt this bridge down" world tour, as she can't fall back on her magic anymore, forcing her to fight smarter and safer and worry more about Luce, but also having to ruminate on her past failed relationships. The ones where she did nothing wrong, like her anti-vax mom, reconnecting with the father that she maimed, while finally realizing that the owl demon is as much trapped as she is, and reconnecting with Rain, who is just great. Not too many things I can say about them, but they are just a perfect partner for Ida. I just really got handed to them there. So just a bunch of stray thoughts, then I'm just gonna end this on the question. Bellows being Philip is as perfect as it is predictable. All the foreshadowing made it pretty obvious that Bellows was gonna be human, and with only one other named human in the Boiling Isles, it was pretty much a given that it was going to be him. It may not have been the shocking twist a lot of people wanted, but if they had gone with any other answer, it would have been shocking, but nothing else. It will fall into the Game of Thrones trap of show writing, where they're so desperate to beat Reddit that they lose track of the show they're writing, and the plot would just stop making sense. My only issue with the Philip reveal is that I don't think that Luce having this breakdown is fully earned. She's acting like she's having a Darth Vader moment here, when the connection between Philip and her has already pretty much been severed. She's barely a fangirl till the episode where they meet, and she just finds out he's a lying piece of shit, ruining her image of him. So for her to be shattered like she is in this scene doesn't fully work for me. She would be shocked, of course, horrified, yes, but even watching Hunter supposedly die here wouldn't leave her so shaken that she would be unable to say his name. I love the scene on its own, it's the best kind of drama, but I always come back thinking that Luce's reaction here wasn't fully right. Like, this isn't how I think she should be reacting. For it to affect her on such a deep level, I feel like they would need to have built up her idolization of Philip a bit more to make this betrayal really carry through. You have the pain of realizing you got played just like everyone else, but it doesn't fully translate over to the character, and it feels like this is done more for the audience's benefit. Speaking of benefits, Amity's parents were pretty much perfect. I loved Alador. Odalia is that bitch, and she is perfect at it. Though I do think for as cathartic as it was seeing Amity reach out to her dad, for him to be kind of absolved of all blame for Amity's shitty childhood is a little too easy for my taste. With all the negatives being put on the mom, I feel like it just downplays a lot of how Aldor's neglect and his own status-seeking nature is presented earlier in the season. When Aldor calms down his wife and convinces her to let Amity keep hanging out with Luce and the extras, he's not saying it because it makes their daughter happy. He explicitly frames it as a benefit for the family, as Amity's skills are improving thanks to their influence. I can forgive the Willow flashback where he makes Amity stop being friends with Willow, but in this season the man is pushing his daughter to be the best. The pressure is there, but the real difference is that he's willing to listen to his daughter when she talks to him, while Adalia's sin is being a fucking narcissist who thinks of her kids as an extension of herself. You can have Aldor be the nice parent, but it just feels a bit hand-wavy to just lump every dysfunctional thing in the family on her. Darius, though, was peak character design, and the strong father figure Hunter actually needs in his life. I'm slightly disappointed he's a good guy, though. I miss my classic camp Disney villains, and the man was just dripping with that energy. Seeing him be exasperated team dad is still a good fit, but fuck, he was so cool as the bad guy. What I am struggling to call a good fit though is King. Be a shocker, I've never really cared for him. His backstory being a Titan is interesting, Ida legally adopting him as her son is cute, but I'm tapped out of the team pet trope. I've never fully connected with him, and every good moment that he has could have been given to any other characters and hit just as hard. And listen to me on this, I want you to hear me, this is just personal preference. He's fine as a character, I just don't give a shit. To me, he's just the +1 of the Owl House. He could do everything right, and I still wouldn't care either way. I already have Hootie, I didn't need another Alex Hirsch character.
You wanna play tag? I'm it.
Oh look, it's Bill Cipher's love child. Alright, this is a pretty big development. The Collector, an all-powerful eldritch abomination with the personality of a child, is here to drive everyone insane, and I am here for it. The Collector is chaos incarnate, and season 3 or not, they're going to make for a great antagonist. They already have a great theme, they're all powerful, and you can't just punch this villain in the face. Being the source of the Owl Curse, King's Past, there's so many just great reveals waiting to be revealed this character that I can't wait to see what they do next. Yet, I do think that the finale and their reveal is a bit marred in how many aspects of it we've seen in other Disney shows. The Collector is Bill Cipher with Zen-Osama's personality. The ending of season 2 is way too close to True Colors, and just having both the parallels back to back makes it just a bit distracting. I wouldn't change anything. I think it is great, I just kind of feel like it's weird timing, having all these similar things going on at once.
It's kind of like we had 3 Penguin movies just back to back to back.
It happened, it was weird, but they're all still good. And to leave you with my final season 3 prediction, I don't think Luce will stay in the human world. This show has been so good about showing how Luce has blossomed in the Boiling Isles, finally finding friends and people where she fits in, and this show spends a lot of time breaking down the fun veneer of being in another world, drawing attention to the fact that Luce doesn't really have anything tying her to the human world besides her mom. Camila is shattered when she thinks her daughter abandoned her, and that the underwhelming reveal of V not being her daughter. This show has an interest in exploring the more tragic parts of their world that you usually don't see in other shows. It has a self-awareness that it knows the tropes that it's playing with, making it so that it would feel cheap for them to connect the worlds like Starverses, and the show isn't going to break up Lumity. So it makes me think that if Luce's mom were to come to the Boiling Isles, Luce would just stay there. Yes, they could have a portal, have the best of both, but the show is so fucking good that I don't want them to take the easy way out of this. The Owl House was a show that I appreciated, but I thought people were giving it just a bit too much credit, ignoring some of the actual flaws that the story had going on, but in season 2, they fixed it. It figured out what it wanted to be and how to tell its own story. It's episodic, but its strengths lie in overarching plot, developing the characters, watching the changes and how they affect one another. I honestly thought that the first season was just an 8 out of 10 at best, but after all this, seeing how much it's changed, it's finally gone up to a 9. Love it to death, expect great things, but Arcane has set the bar way too high. Let me know what you all thought about this season of Owl House. Yes, I know this was a bit of a scattershot video, deal with it. I was sick all week. You should absolutely check out the show if you haven't already. Get Atlas VPN using the link in the description. Thank you all for watching and putting up with me. Peace out, have a good one, and give me all your Owl House hot takes.